Don't know who it is?
Nope. I can't name that tune.
Here, I'll start it over.
Yeah. Y'all just have to tell me.
It is the song Circles by Dag Nasty.
Oh, that was on the tip of my tongue.
Was it now?
Yeah. it was right there.
I just watched the documentary again for I don't know how many times I've watched it, but the documentary Salad Days about the DC punk scene.
I haven't seen that. I find it odd though.
You should.
I find it odd though that you have time to, first of all, watch documentaries, but second of all, to watch them multiple times. Like,
it's the music that I listen to. It's the music that I enjoy. So
it's your favorites, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that there are things that I will watch over and over again, whether they're feature film or even documentary. I don't know why. There's just ones that I'm like, you know what? This interests me.
Yeah.
And I watch.
Yeah, nice. I rewatched Interstellar the other night.
That's a movie that I watch. I mean, I won't say often, but
Speaking of rewatching, I mean, yeah, it's rare here, but it does happen.
It is one that I've rewatched a few times. And, you catch things. Actually, last time I watched it, it was because I was having a conversation with my son about Nolan movies and what I have not seen. And I think the only one that I haven't seen and in a way refuse to see is, and I don't even, here's the thing. I don't even know the name of it. So there you go.
It doesn't exist to you.
It's the one with like the little folding realities and,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The one with Leo?
Yes. And that is
I don't even know if we should, I don't know if we should even name it. If
I was going to say, and that is probably why I didn't watch it.
What are you talking about, dude? You're crazy.
Haven't watched.
It actually has an architect in it. What?
Yeah, I know. Because you know that Hollywood portrays architects perfectly. Like
This is not a movie about that.
Well, Keanu Reeves as like the architect in the lake house. I mean, the only reason I watched that movie. The only reason I watched that movie was because of the damn house.
It wasn't that great. I mean,
the movie wasn't great, but the house was okay. I mean, it was a good setting.
Okay. Yeah,
I liked the setting and everything. It was more of me living my dream of being an architect and having a lake house.
Okay, so speaking of movies and architects, have you seen what's coming early next year?
Yes. If you were talking about,
this is a test.
the Brutalist movie.
Yes, the Brutalist.
And
I think we're gonna have to have a special review episode about.
We should have like a showing and do that. Actually, my son.
We should rent a theater.
That would actually be awesome. To be quite honest with you.
Like, okay, audience, let us know. Like, how many of you would actually show up to a screening? Just knowing that you would have to travel, like we would all have to travel to all see it together to do it right. We like what would it take? How many people do you think we would need to pull this off? We would need a couple hundred people, right, to show up for something like this.
Hold on, I'm looking up when it comes out.
Yeah, I thought I saw January or something, but I could be wrong. I did see the number 2025.
It actually says that, according to this, it says initial release September 1st.
This year? What?
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'm way off.
The Brutalist.
Yes, The Brutalist with Adrian Brody.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
That's it. Yeah, actually.
Well, if it's September 1st, we missed it. I think that was just the. I think that was the festival.
It was probably
festival premiere.
That was probably the festival. Adrian Brody as Laszlo Toth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it sound like he's a brutalist. What is the most architectural sounding name we can make?
Right. Totally.
Actually, my son, who is studying film studies, he told me about it. Because to be quite honest with you, I didn't know it was occurring. And then up until, I think it was last night, actually, he told me about it. He's like,
Good timing.
He's like, hey, did you see that the movie The Brood List is coming out? I'm like, no. I was like, is it a documentary? They're like, no, Adrian Brody. I'm like, oh, interesting. I was like, who's he portraying? He's like, oh, it's a fictional character. I'm like, it's probably an amalgamation of like Paul Rudolph and others.
Right.
Do you,
maybe a little bit of Pereira. Yeah, who knows who's going to be in it. What characters have come together to make this fictional protagonist?
It's interesting that some of the architects, brutalist architects, that you would think otherwise. Like, the first thing that comes to my mind when we think of like Eros Saarinen, you don't think of brutalism. Mm-hmm. Not in the, I guess, traditional sense, but...
What do you mean by that?
I don't know.
I think you're going to have to get more specific.
I don't know what the traditional sense
with your
of a brutalist
generalities
is.
here.
Well, anyway...
Just because someone uses concrete doesn't mean
No. Right. Except for look up the Milwaukee War Memorial that Saarinen did. And if you tell me that is not a brutalist building, then...
Well, not to say that they can't do it, but also you wouldn't categorize Saarinen as a brutalist either.
Exactly.
Right.
In a way, I don't necessarily think that, like, say, Khan is either, but there are Khan buildings that are brutalist buildings. So, we just totally drove right off that cliff.
Well, not only that, but we might hear something from Mr. Brutalism.
I was going to say, there is somebody who might correct us on all of this.
See if Josh listens.
Yeah.
Who knows?
You gave away a secret identity.
I did. Mr. Josh Mings of Aggregate Architecture or whatever.
Yeah.
I know it's Aggregate. Maybe it's Aggregate Studio. I can't remember the name of his firm, but
I'm actually
hope he's doing well.
forward to next visit to Chicago. I want to try to meet up with him and visit his office.
His new office. Yeah.
Do you know where it's at?
I don't know the name of the building, but we did see it. It's right on the river, right?
It is. No. It is architecturally significant building.
Okay.
It is.
I thought it was on the river.
It is the Monadnock.
Yeah, isn't that on the river? Am I wrong?
River. Yeah,
okay.
You're wrong.
Okay.
You wrong.
Okay. Yeah, totally. I'm probably wrong about all of the brutalism comments too.
Yeah, bro.
It's not the thing that I study. So we probably no, we don't need to go down this road. I was going to say we probably need to define it because everybody gets the definition. They think one thing, but it's something else.
Okay, let me bring it back real quickly before we probably change subjects again to architectural portrayal in movies. And what was your most favorite portrayal of an architect in a movie?
I don't know if I have one.
And not a documentary, because then I would say...
Right.
He was pretty good in that movie. It was like he
was played by self.
Exactly.
I don't know the answer to that. The first thing that comes to mind is in The Matrix, is the architect. So not in the first Matrix. I don't remember if it was the second or the third film that came out, but that's when we actually met the architect of The Matrix. So,
and we're going with that. I mean, isn't that one of those computer programming architects? Come on, man.
Software architect.
We try to hold on.
Oh, hey, Cormac. Okay, what I meant to say was in the Nolan film Inception.
Again.
Yes. And no, an actual architect in that movie. Yeah.
I would say Michael J. Fox, The Frighteners.
I haven't heard of this.
Oh my Lord.
So it's good or good,
Oh
bad,
no,
or
actually,
bad,
well,
good?
so he plays an architect that is not a practicing architect anymore because of things that happen in the movie, and it's it's actually a really decent horror flick.
Oh, well, you lost me there. That's why I haven't seen it. I can't imagine Michael J. Fox in a horror movie.
I mean, I think it's a PG-13 horror flick, but
yeah.
Which
all right, I'm gonna have to dig up a link for that for the show notes because everybody's got to watch it now.
I'm gonna have to make a note here. Hold on.
You're gonna have to make a note. Make a note in your field notes notebook.
No,
with your ballpoint pen.
Here, hold on.
Okay, hold on close.
My notes.
See the latest.
There we go.
Phelan sketch.
my meeting notes today, including a whatever it is.
Yeah, what do you call those?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not really a ragdoll like that. You have a ragdoll series, but what is this? This is like some decaying,
creepy ragdoll. It's kind of a merging of like my ragdolls and my zombies.
Oh, there you go.
I think I had this conversation with you before that there's a time where I was posting, I had that whole series of the Post-it, the 15-minute sketches, the Post-it notes that I did one every day for a year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I was just posting random other things. And then when my vision needing glasses started to go, I, for some reason, stopped. I mean, because I draw so fine detailed that I just stopped drawing to the point where...
Because you couldn't see the fine details? That actually might be kind of an interesting evolution in your drawings if you just continued to do it without the glasses and just see what happens, right?
Because that would be actually hilarious to actually see what... if I took my readers off and looked at or just assumed that I was drawing what I would normally draw and see what... Damn it, now you're going to have to make me do that.
It's like that exercise where you have to close your eyes and do the drawing, right? Where you don't lift your... There's a name for this that is escaping me.
Yeah. Or like the gesture sketches where, you like, again, don't lift
make
your
a mark.
thing. Exactly.
That's it. Make a mark. Well, it's a good dinner table activity. Is to make a mark and then pass it around. And by the end of dinner, you got a pretty interesting drawing.
I don't think we've ever done that. That's kind of cool, too.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Have you done that? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that my youngest, who also draws with very fine detail, like you.
Gee, I think I can guess what he
turns everything into a Godzilla.
Awesome.
The exercise that I was going to bring up that he likes to do is he likes to pit my wife and I against each other to draw an object, and he picks the object. And then he's like, okay, you guys both have to draw it. And he'll play along too, but he gets to pick what the object is. And so it's like a bicycle or a camera or a tree or a building or whatever. And so we'll each draw something. And it's interesting actually when you're drawing just, it's a noun, right? You're going to draw this noun. And the different perspectives that come out. So some things are in 3D, some things are in 2D, some things are really simple, some things are more detailed, and I usually win. I'll just say that.
I don't know if your family does board games or anything, but we were just in the store looking at the board games, and
that's fun.
I was standing next to my daughter, and I was just like, we haven't played Pictionary in a long time.
Ooh.
It's like, we should do that. And she's like, no, because it's never really any fun, because whoever gets you on their team wins.
Because you could draw all the things.
Yeah, it's a bicycle. Yeah, that's
Cormac,
a bicycle.
how does your team always win though when like the ink is always smeared?
No, I draw it upside down.
That's right. You are the king.
I am the king of drawing.
You could draw in reverse, upside down in reverse.
I did that just the other day, and
your brain is so screwed up to be able to do
that. You could have just stopped at your brain is just so screwed up, and then called it a day.
Right there, you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, tell me about your latest adventures in teaching. Like, let's talk about how is it semesters or quarters that you're doing?
It's semesters.
How's your first semester going?
So first semester, Actually, it's going really well. First of all, let me just kind of give a little shout out to the students who aren't listening to this, because I don't even know if they know
Why
that
would
I
they
do
do
this. But
what? You haven't? We need more listeners. You need
although I had joked a few times about, so if they kind of like went and did some hunting down, they would probably find.
Oh yeah, just Google you. Yeah.
Well, no, because I had mentioned a few times, because I'm co-teaching with a friend of the show and a fellow podcaster who still has yet to earn a name,
yes.
except for Coffee Boy.
Right.
Anyway, I was joking about like our competing podcast, and they're like, "You have a podcast too?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been doing one for about 12 years," and I just kind of like left it.
It's actually no competition.
Well, that's true. I mean, please, seriously. I mean,
Smack Talk commences.
Yeah, but so we co-teach together with someone else, and it's really interesting because, and I'll kind of explain a little bit about the project and everything. And so they do studios they give an ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, and I'm teaching ID 5. And ID 5 is integrated design, level 5. And what they basically do, because they have a series of labs and other classes like structures, wood comp, or all of these other different types of classes, they actually integrate them into the studio as well. And so if you're learning structures, you're going to be doing things that also integrate structures into your project, urban design, and so on and so forth. And so at ID5, they've got a whole bag of tricks of things that they are sort of required to actually do. And they've got a great program. The actual syllabus was a really good program. And it was an international center located in Flint, Michigan. And it is an actual site. Well, it's an actual client that has been eyeing a specific site. And if everything goes well in their actual world, it becomes this. But we get to use their program, and we get to use the site. So now they have to employ things like understanding what adaptive reuse is and all of these other things. And one of the things that they used to do up until Mouthy Boy decided to join the teaching staff and say, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if we do this or this?" That completely changes everything that you guys have been doing in the past.
I'm down, Mouthy Boy.
And I kind of hope that they don't take any offense to it or feel like I've contributed a little bit to this whole process. But I was just like, well, why don't we break up the team?
Who's the new guy? They're like looking around. Who's the new guy here?
Exactly. As we affectionately refer to them as the FNG in the Army. And I'm going to let anybody figure out what that acronym stands for.
It's not hard.
It's not hard, but
one.
still.
That's not a hard riddle.
Exactly. So we were talking about it. It's like, well, break up each of the teams and assign them these assignments that you already have thought about like doing, but assign everything, because then, so they have 4 assignments, essentially. They have assignment 1, which is a precedent study, which is, there are a variety of different program types within this building. And so what their mission is to kind of look at a precedence that reflects that program type, or maybe we have them looking up like grassroots architecture and what that is. Because this is a nonprofit organization that will have to be doing some pretty creative things with, and so they looked up precedents of other programs that use grassroots architecture for funding and construction and all that other stuff. So that's one. It's like one assignment. They broke up the group of 40 students into 6 different groups. And then there was the assignment 2, which is more like analytics, looking at things like the economy of the demographics of Flint, or building code, and things like that. And so there's a variety of different things.
When you say Flint, I just want the listeners to understand that you're located in Michigan.
Yes, the school.
That's the site of the building. I think, and you're holding up a shirt with the LTU. I'm pretty sure you got the name of the school wrong. The last
I did get this, and actually got a text from Coffee Boy correcting me.
I'm pretty sure that's a good idea to know who's employing you.
My wife.
It was just a version of a word. That's all.
My wife. She's employing me.
Yeah. Good to know her name. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the only name you need to know, actually.
Exactly.
Okay. And sorry, I derailed you.
That's totally fine. So my contribution was suggesting that we kind of break up the teams in a way that essentially the next steps is that they're going to start doing building programming and building design and things like that. But if you take a person from each of these teams and then reshuffle the teams for the design progress, and so each team will then have a subject matter expert from these other teams.
Hopefully.
It will be, well, I mean, looking at the work that they just did. So we did a mid-semester review. So
we've all done group projects, Cormac. Not that every professional project isn't one, but in school,
in school, hard. But in practice, we do it all the time. I mean,
every time.
Our group, even like I try to tell them, I'm like, even a sole practitioner does a group project, because if you have engineers, if you have contractors, if you have all of these other things, you're going to be working with someone else. And so kind of like
who doesn't pull their weight.
Wow. All right then.
That was always my experience.
Yeah. So then they were also like, well, we typically also assign a model. And I'm like, okay, well, what is the model usually for? And they're like, well, sometimes we do this or sometimes we do that. I'm like, well, why don't this model be something more like what they can do with that is applicable to both the coming project and also the research projects that they're doing now. And a lot of them are basically, looking, since their second assignment is to basically look at like all these different like data points and analytics and things like that, transportation, yada, 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 all these different things in the city of Flint. Why don't we use a snapshot of downtown Flint and access to downtown Flint as both some of the graphics that people will use in their Work 2 assignment, but also as the model, and then build a 3D model that they can reference back and forth to as they're talking to it, because they will be talking to this particular client, and basically align it with kind of how we use the tools that we create, whether it's the graphics in the presentation or the models or whatever else and stuff. So it's basically, this is the long way of saying it's actually going really well, because all of these kids, they're all basically about the same age as my two college age kids, and a lot of them are working in firms, which is kind of cool. I'll ask them, although I've asked them on numerous occasions, hey, do you know anything about the rural studio? And they're like, what's the rural studio? I'm like, get out. Like,
you're dead to me. You're dead to me.
Or I'll ask them, I'm like, hey, has anybody assigned you, or have you ever seen Powers of 10? No, get out.
Get out.
Like, come on. Out. What?
Well, now you know why you're there. Well, this sounds like a cool project. I like how you're like, well, okay, so first of all, I like the idea of basically what you're saying is you're showing the entire curriculum it's basically like a syllabus, but it's broken up into projects, and they get to actually see what's coming. Yeah. So they know why they're doing this step.
Exactly.
Because it leads to the next step. Because it leads to the next step.
Absolutely.
And this idea of kind of data collection and like I assume it's like demographics and, like you said, traffic, and I'm sure it's like environmental stuff,
utilities,
and all kinds of
exactly the whole thing.
I want to give an assignment. Can I give an assignment? I mean, you can choose to accept this or not, but I'm going to give you an assignment. I would love it if you would pass a link along to one of my podcast episodes called Design, Equity, and Data. Okay. And it's Troxel podcast number 73. And that one, it was a panel discussion that I led, and so I'm not the expert. I just asked the questions. There was a guy from Perkins and Will in the urban planning department. There was 3 or 4 people on the panel, each coming from a different place in practice, but talking about how data that has even been collected potentially has a bias attached to it, right? And so they talked about ways in which you can overcome that when you are doing data analysis and study for a project to really try to fully understand what you're getting into, right? And not just going off, because I think there's a lot of times where it's like, we did research, and I'm using my podcast air quotes, which means I look stuff up on Google. Okay, by the way, that's not research, right? And so it's like it's actually pulling data from legitimate data sources, but even legitimate data sources have inherent bias built into them because it was just in how they collected the data or the kind of data that they collected, things like that. But I thought it was really a great conversation around that so that it's not just like, well, you can't just use the excuse of, well, that was the data I was given, because then you're not truly representing potentially the client who's actually going to be using the building when you're using this information to inform that design early on.
So that's interesting that you say that. We had our mid quarter review. Basically, okay,
half of a half.
Yeah. So let me explain what that was. It's basically
called a quarter. Yeah.
They all
mid quarter review.
Quarter review.
Quarter mid review.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what we basically did is they had presented where they're at to this point. And normally in the past, what they've done is they hadn't given all of the assignments out. They would only give one assignment out, and they would basically
and then surprise you with whatever was next.
Well, and that would be done at this presentation. And one of the interesting things is that they're looking at all, because they sort of know where they're going with the next two assignments after this, and they're weaving together both. Okay, I looked at a building type or a project delivery type, like say with the grassroots architecture. But let's just say that, okay, we as in the group that did adaptive reuse, we looked at this. And then we also looked at code, building codes, accessibility codes, and things like that. That was their project number 2. That was what they had to present on. And one of the interesting things about that is that they took it upon themselves. A little bit of prodding from us, but overall it was kind of led by them, was that they looked at their first precedents of an adaptive reuse building and then looked at how the code looks at adaptive reuse and what are the things that you need to do and know from a code aspect for an adaptive reuse building. And I thought it was great. And so they were weaving these together to see that it was like, okay, I know what my endpoint is I've got a project we're going to be working on an adaptive reuse project. And so I'm doing this precedent study of what does it mean to basically do an adaptive reuse project? What are some of the design challenges and design opportunities that these people of the particular precedent study that we looked at had employed in their project? And then, okay, understanding that they had some challenges, probably a lot of those challenges came from either the code or whatever. And so understanding, since we're looking at code too, understanding code and understanding like what it is that we are going to be challenged to. So they basically weaved it all together really well. So it's a story that can continue to be told all the way into their next project. And I keep hitting my mic.
Stop it. This was that's a podcast rookie mistake right there.
It's somebody who talks with their hands.
Hand talker. So this reminds me of the last Monterey Design Conference and all of the adaptive reuse projects that were shown. It was absolutely incredible. And when you think about the challenges that do show up in adaptive reuse projects, when it comes to structural and mechanical, and I mean, you're taking the bones of something and you're trying to inject modern systems into that and entirely different use cases and all of that stuff. It is extremely challenging, but I would also say like super inspiring to see those projects that are successful.
It is. And it's also
extremely rewarding too, to see that not every great architectural project needs to be a new building. Yeah.
Well, as somebody who I don't know if it specializes in, but it seems like it because I've been doing a lot of them. Doing adaptive reuse projects, I find the whole thing this exciting challenge. It's like, okay, I don't have the tabula rasa or tabula rosa, however you pronounce it. I don't have that blank slate.
You don't have the blank slate, or you don't have the rose slate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Rose-colored glasses, maybe.
Exactly. And so I have to figure out the most creative way to do this. And so when I was talking to them about it, it's just like you've got to think about, because they were like, well, it was interesting is because having a conversation or a debate about how the students should progress with their work between the instructors was also kind of fun too, because here you are talking about, like, the three of us are sitting here talking about it. He's like, well, I think that they should do something a little bit more specific to their project. I'm like, and then I interject, I'm like, well, I don't really necessarily think so, because I was like, I kind of swayed them away from doing that. And the reason I did is because
one professor undoes what the other one just did over and over. It can be frustrating.
But the good thing is that we're having this open conversation between us with the students so that we can discuss, okay, what is the right direction? And they've got another 3 weeks to kind of wrap up these two projects. And looking at everything that they did, they actually have got a lot of work that they did.
And I could assume, as basically the adults that they are, they could also choose to ignore you.
Yeah. Well, so the way that I framed it on why I prefer them not to get too specific with it is that they're going to get a program, and they're going to assess the program, and they're going to interpret how that program is implemented. Mm-hmm. Some people may say, okay, I looked at all of the data that we collected about downtown Flint in areas that are essentially going to help support this building, whether it's a restaurant or government facilities or third spaces or whatever. They're going to be there. They looked at all of this, and then you sort of see it's like, okay, some of these other support functions around the town, they want to put them in this building. I want them to kind of assess, is that the right thing to do? Is this the best?
Very fabric of the the project doesn't necessarily stop at the property line kind of a thing.
Well, I was going to say, if the building itself is asking for food services, but there is a lot of food services around, this is the conversation. Right, this is the conversation that we have with our clients, especially when we're doing kind of like nonprofit work or community work like this. It's just like, what assets do you have within the community that support your building that maybe you don't need those programs within your building? Sure. You can utilize that space to do something else. One of your other, like, they'll have this laundry list of all of these different programs types that they want. Maybe they might have to sacrifice one thing for another to try to jam everything in there.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, and so, exactly. And so maybe the conversation is that, okay, we assessed this based off of the data that we had. We looked at not utilizing this particular program because it's supported here, 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 and here.
Yeah, if you could make a justification for that, sure.
So what that means is, for the code, they're now going to have a different type of program that's going to go in there. And so let's say, for instance, they do, we were just looking at a multi-purpose space that was less than 50 people. Well, that's one code implication. So now, because they are getting rid of a program, maybe they want to do that as now an assembly space of 100 people. Well, that's a completely different code.
Changes things.
That is a different code implication, and what it means both by code and structure and everything else. And so that's why I was like, I don't really want them to get too specific on the program, because they may choose a completely different program. And what I would love to see, I want to see how they, by understanding the code, how they then use the code in their specific program.
Yeah.
And so that's why I didn't really want to get too deep into like getting specific on the code.
So who's acting as the client here? Is it you, the professor?
Oh, no. There's an actual. So our nameless fan, he actually, because he's a practicing architect in the city of Flint, he knows a lot of people, and he actually knows the director of the International Center of Greater Flint. And so they have been looking for a space for them to have a home for all of these support services for immigrant and refugee community within the greater Flint area to go for a variety of different services that they offer. And so he agreed, because the relationship between our friend, I almost said his name, so I paused, our friend and the director of the center, he agreed to basically be the client for us. And so we actually have a client. So does he meet
with each one of the groups to have those kind of conversations about that kind of thing?
So the first step was we've got a couple of different steps. We will have another round of community engagement for very specific things. We did meet with the director as a whole for the entire group. And he gave a presentation about what the International Center is and what the goals of the International Center are, and kind of like the future aspirations of the 10, 15, 20 years from now kind of aspirations. And let them ask as many questions as they can. Let's talk about them very specifically, like what do you want your building to be, or what kind of programs do you want, or can you explain a little bit more about like this particular aspect or that particular aspect of your mission? So it was a really good conversation that they got to engage the client. I mean, they should have asked a lot more questions. I kind of like jumped in there and hid behind somebody and raised my hand and said, "I'd like to ask a question." And
are you Gumby or Pokey?
Well, no, it was just
which voice was that?
I wanted a 20-something, a young 20-something college student. Okay. Isn't that what you sounded like? Hi, Professor. I'm Evan.
Voice cracking and all. Yeah.
I'll hit puberty someday. But so it was. So they had some good questions, and then they walked the site, and then they asked questions, and then they walked like around the area, taking a look at things kind of based off of what their research had to be anyway. Some of their like work to research was, the kind of the data collecting stuff. And so a lot of them kind of walked around and just looked at like access and how do you get to downtown and are there buses running, those kind of things. So they did a lot of like kind of like practical on the ground kind of, which is absolutely what we should always do, is go and actually survey the
Google
site.
Maps. I think you mean Google Maps.
Yeah. I would say
I laugh.
Remember when I told the story about like having to write a precedent study, and then I decided to like take my long weekend and hop in the car and drive to that precedent study so I could see it and like really talk about it. Google, if Google Earth and Google Maps existed and Street View existed back then, I wouldn't have made that drive.
Yeah.
Maybe I probably would have, but
it's how valuable your time actually is.
Exactly.
It's hard to actually say that, because not to say that what you would have, that it wasn't valuable what you did, but yeah.
I mean, I got an A on it, so
there you go.
But
this sounds like a cool project. I'm
is
actually interested now in seeing the results of and the creative ideas that come out of it. I think one of the things that is hard in this kind of it sounds like I'm projecting now. In this kind of a scenario, because you guys have built so many kind of real world constraints into the project, right? You have a real client, you've got a real site, you've got a real program, you've got the code, you've got all of these things that you're actually looking at. You're going to have data that you're going to make decisions with based on all of the actual things that go on around that site. Okay, and yet, like, how can you blow my mind with a project, right?
I was trying
that's
to
going to be an
like,
interesting thing.
I tried to explain to him, like, constraints do not kill creativity.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, in a way, what's fun is the challenge of how you can beat what you kind of assume is like the code minimum kind of building.
Yeah,
and stuff.
For sure. Right. That is what architecture in the real world actually is. What I guess where I'm even going with that is a little bit farther out, which is like the dreams, like the big, the moonshot kind of ideas, the big dreams that you see in school projects, right? That you actually almost only get to see in school projects or competitions or whatever, where it is a little bit disengaged from reality. But I'm just interested to see like how big the ideas can actually be. I mean, you're talking about adaptive reuse case studies, and I've seen some incredible adaptive reuse projects. So it's totally possible, right? I mean, I'm really intrigued to see what comes out of this.
So, and actually I gave them a handout that, interestingly enough, Bluebeam had published just a little small paper that they did on adaptive reuse, and it was filled with a bunch of data on what the future holds for adaptive reuse. And in fact, actually, the future holds a lot for adaptive reuse, especially this big, huge push towards sustainability. And what does that mean with recycling buildings? And so, plus, my always saving kind of like the architectural heritage of a town, like that kind of cultural identity that was created, if it has one. And so I've sat through a few studios in the past before I was hired on, and they did a lot of like adaptive reuse projects. And it was really interesting that the constraints did not kill their creativity. Sure, if you look at them, you're like, yeah, there isn't no way in the world that's buildable. But that's okay.
That's also not the point.
That is not the point at all. The point is, how can you work with the existing building and the constraints that all of these other things have, and still do an exciting, creative, imaginative space? And a lot of them stay very kind of restrained, and a lot of them get really, really ambitious. And it's really kind of fun to see like the variety of different kind of like aspects of it. So, yeah.
When they do the design part of the project, are they still working?
So they will be working in teams. Yeah.
Wow.
But the interesting thing about that is, so when they reshuffle them, is there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be like one member of each team on that team. And I don't know if they're going to then break it down a little bit more. I'm not sure, because that's going to be a challenge. Because, I mean, hell, think about how like difficult it is to design by committee.
That's why I said, wow.
So we can get a little bit into that one once we start assigning that, because it'll be interesting. So you said you would love to see it. Maybe, just maybe.
I wasn't going to invite myself, but
maybe, just maybe, because I do know that somebody who could make that decision does listen to this show. And
I'm not sure that would get a name drop.
No. Yeah, that's still not going to get a name drop. However, might be an easy way to fulfill a commitment. Is invite you to the studio.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, behind the curtain. Sorry,
Exactly.
Audience. Well, this is fun. Thanks for sharing that, and I look forward to future updates on the progress of this project.
Well, let me just add one last thing. What it has done for me is it's kind of exciting to like be around this doe-eyed energy.
That's why it exists. That's why people want to teach.
Yeah.
It's not because of all the bureaucracy.
Yeah. It not only like, kind of reinforces what I do and don't know, but it also kind of just like, I get to see the birth of like these people's passion into why they want to do this. And like, it kind of reminds me, it's like, well, why did I want to do it way back when? And to see everybody else that are kind of excited about it. You can tell that there's a variety of different kind of people who are really, really excited about like doing this as a profession. And then there's like people who are going to be good at doing this profession, but maybe don't really have that same kind of like,
maybe they haven't found that spark yet.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's really fun. It's really fun to see all of them in all of their different kind of like, levels of joy for something that they were going to be doing for the rest of their lives.
Very cool. Very cool. Great to hear it. Well,
yeah.
All right.
So.
How about we pick this one up when you have more to discuss?
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right, man.